quick introductions of the team today. We've got a team from Quisitive and Microsoft here today. Joining us from Microsoft is Mahmoud Tahami, who's a modern work fast track architect. He has been working on this on Copilot for quite a while now, and we really appreciate his experience here. He's a modern work fast track architect, and his role in the organization is to help expedite Copilot deployment for customers and make sure that he can accelerate their path to value. Also joining us is Olivier Descharmes. Olivier is a fast track engineer with Microsoft, and he's been working for over a year now to help clients, I'm going to say, pun intended, fast track their path to success with Copilot. My name is Tim Cohn. I'm the Global Practice Director for Modern Work here at Quisitive, and I'm really excited to be joined by this team today. Also on our team and presenting today is Jeff Dalton. He's a Principal Consultant at Quisitive. He's my Modern Work Practice Technical Lead for Digital Transformation and Artificial Intelligence in M365. So he's been working with M365 and related technologies for years, for over 30 years with different technology stacks. So it's amazing having everyone here today. You asked, and we asked you where you were in your journey prior to this event. And as you can see, there's a lot of folks here who are either gathering more information, getting ready to launch in the next 6 months, or unsure about whether or not you want to go down the Copilot for M365 path. And so there's a lot of questions on the right side. How do we scale? What prompts work best? Is there a checklist for testing? We're going to answer a lot of these questions today, and then we'll provide you with some options for ways to get those questions answered specifically for your organization in detail. So appreciate the responses on our questionnaire. That really helps us target the information to you. So the agenda for today is going to cover quite a bit of ground, so we have to move fast. So we're going to talk about Mahmoud and Olivier are going to talk about Microsoft 365 Copilot and what's available right now from day one. We're going to talk about licensing. They're going to talk about licensing, and they're going to talk about what's coming next in Microsoft 365. And then Jeff and I will talk with you about what are the other Copilots in the ecosystem outside of even M365, and we'll give you a framework to kind of look at those. And then what are top 5 things to consider before enabling Copilot? This comes from our experience deploying Copilot with many customers. And then we're going to talk about what is the proven roadmap to a successful launch. And we're going to give you some questions to ask your organization and to research internally within your organization so that you can provide a smoother and more successful launch of M365 when you decide to go down that road, or if you do. All right, and from here, I'm going to turn it over to Mahmoud on our Microsoft team, and he'll take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim. Much appreciated introduction. Hello, everyone. Very excited to be discussing with you today and my colleague Olivier from Fast Track how Copilot works. We'll talk also about what Copilot is to start out with, how to get your digital estate optimized to get the most out of Copilot M365, the most out of your investment from a technical perspective. And then we'll also talk about the business aspect. Jeff and Tim will be covering that in a few minutes, a little bit later. They'll also be talking about the adoption aspect, the art of prompting, the other Microsoft Copilots, and much more. So let's get started. What is Copilot M365? So Copilot M365 is a transformative tool that integrates the power of advanced AI with Microsoft 365 applications. It enables users to streamline their workflow, enhance their creativity, and boost productivity. It acts as a sophisticated processing engine that understands the natural language commands to generate content, analyze the data, and build presentations effectively while reducing that monotony of routine tasks and fostering an environment of productivity. So with Copilot, users can harness AI to summarize actions, optimize time, and elevate their skills, ensuring they never have to start from scratch and staying productive. It's embedded within the Microsoft 365 apps that you use daily, like Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, Teams, and Word to work alongside you. So it offers suggestions, generates contents, and provides feedback based on the topic, that's a given, but also your tone and your style. So ultimately, Copilot allows you to focus on the aspects of work that you love the most, transforming the way you interact with your digital workspace. So today we'll explore how Copilot enhances productivity and collaboration within M365 and the features Copilot uses. So this way you can take advantage of how AI helps you find the information you need quickly and easily. It's like having a personal assistant at your fingertips. So we'll start out with Microsoft 365 Chat. So starting out with Chat, it's available in your browser as a web app and Teams for ease of access wherever you are and at whatever moment you're being productive. Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat is an innovative feature within M365 Suite that revolutionizes the way that users interact with their workspace. It leverages the power of large language models, of course, to understand and execute natural language commands. So it allows users to generate content, analyze the data, and it's designed to reduce the tedium of routine tasks. It enables users to focus on what matters, and it's integrated across M365 apps. It provides a seamless and intuitive AI-powered assistant that works alongside you to offer those suggestions, content, and creativity. So it's an exciting new way of working and making it an essential tool for modern professionals. Up next, we'll talk about Copilot or show a little bit of what Copilot in PowerPoint is. So Copilot in PowerPoint is a game changer for creating those presentations. It assists users in transforming ideas into visually compelling slides with the minimum of effort. By understanding the natural language, it suggests design layouts, finds relevant images, and even helps craft the narrative of your presentation. It's like having a design expert and a storytelling assistant all in one. It ensures your slides not only look professional, but also convey your message effectively. With Copilot and PowerPoint, you can spend less time on the mechanics of slide creation and focus more on delivering your message with confidence. And as you can see here in the example, there's prompts based on the nature of work. And as you use it, the more you use it, the more it adapts to your style and tone of work. All right, up next is Copilot in Word. So Copilot in Word redefines the writing experience completely. It brings the sophistication of AI into documentation creation. It assists users in drafting, editing, and refining their documents with ease. Copilot understands the context and the content of your document, offering intelligent suggestions to improve clarity, tone, and consistency, and it can help you write more effectively. So whether you're crafting a business proposal, a paper, a creative piece, Copilot in Word will focus on your message while the AI takes care of the language, the grammar, the style, ensuring your documents are professional and polished. And we'll take a look here at Copilot in Teams meetings. So Copilot in Teams meetings or Teams live meetings elevates the collaborative experience by integrating AI-driven insights and assistance in real time. So this is a huge benefit to those who are taking notes or trying to multitask between listening and taking notes. It enhances engagement and productivity during those live meetings by providing features like automatic note-taking, real-time summaries, action item tracking. Copilot can also assist in moderating discussions, ensuring that all voices are heard and key points are captured. And finally, we'll show here the Microsoft Copilot in Outlook. In Outlook, it's a powerful ally in managing email. So it manages your communication efficiently by utilizing the AI, of course, to help users prioritize their inboxes, draft the replies, and schedule meetings effortlessly. It can summarize long email threads, suggest responses based on email content, and even remind you of follow-ups, ensuring nothing slips through the cracks. With Copilot in Outlook, users can navigate their emails with confidence, saving time and focusing on the most critical tasks at hand. So that all sounds great, but we'd like to talk a little bit more about what it takes to get ready, licensing, prerequisites, technical aspects before we jump into the business aspect of Copilot. And I'll hand it over to my colleague, Olivier, who will give us a little bit of a clarity around that. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mahmoud. All right, so as you move onto your Copilot journey, we typically have two paths for readiness, which tend to run in parallel. So our first one is ready for Copilot and is basically the minimal requirement for you to technically be able to use it. The other one is optimized for Copilot, which is basically our recommendation on how to manage your data, how to make sure compliance is in place, and prevent oversharing. Let's start by focusing on those technical requirements first. So beyond the Copilot licensing, obviously, you also need to have qualifying M365 licensing. You also need to have an Entra ID account. So if you are either synchronizing identities or have cloud-borne IDs, that works. By default, Copilot can only look within your tenant. So you will need to have some information either on SharePoint, OneDrive, for it to be able to have interactions. For most customers, the WebSocket requirement is not such a really big item. If you've connected to the portal, this is good, but we still provide the list of endpoint nonetheless. As far as the desktop applications, so the productivity suite is concerned, typically you need to have either current channel or a monthly enterprise channel. Now, if you are not ready to go forward with that, we still support the web app deployment. So you can still go on ahead if you're not ready to adopt these channels. As far as Teams is concerned, we typically support all the versions of Teams, so classic team, new Teams, web, and desktop. So it works pretty much across the board here. We also have optional services like the new Outlook. We support limited feature set on the classic Outlook. And we also have Copilot available in Loop, which provides an interesting new area for collaboration. Now, with these technical requirements in place, let's look at these optimized path. So basically here, we'd be looking at the purview side of things. So data compliance, so having information protection labeling in place, making sure that your information is properly defined, access restricted. Same for the SharePoint site. So build them appropriately, make sure membership is restricted, make sure that the right people have access to the right sites. We have, of course, data loss prevention that will help end users understand basically if files should not be shared, and retention policies to make sure that the contents remain in your environment for the amount of time that you require them to do so. Now, of course, these are all very interesting, but we have an aspect to the business around this that our good folks at Quisitive will talk to in more details. And that wraps up my section around the technical requirements.
Thank you so much, Olivier. Much appreciated. Microsoft 365 Copilot is actively incorporating customer feedback to enhance the system's performance and that user experience. So there's a vast array of features for Copilot that's coming and currently in preview. You can, of course, access these features or view these features at aka.ms/M365 roadmap. But we'd like to give you a sneak peek of some of the most recent features requested by you. Essentially, we have today, or we're excited today, to announce new innovations from Microsoft Purview to help you secure and govern AI. And this is an ask that came up from a lot of customers. We heard and we delivered. So Microsoft Purview AI Hub, which helps organizations discover how AI applications such as Copilot for M365 and third-party AI apps as well are being used in organizations, and provide ready-to-use policies to protect the data, which is now available in public preview. Also, new insights into unlabeled files and SharePoint sites referenced by Copilot will also be included in the public preview release of AI Hub. This helps organizations prioritize the most critical data risks and put in place protection policies to prevent them. New insights into non-compliant, unethical use of AI interactions will also be included in public preview release of the AI Hub. This helps organizations quickly gain insight into unethical use such as regulatory collusion, money laundering, targeted harassment, and more. The preview has been available since this month in May and will roll out starting November of 2024. The second feature I'd like to discuss, which is highly in demand as well, the Microsoft Copilot with a graph-grounded chat usage metric. So there's already a usage metric in the Admin Center that can be viewed today. But with this graph-grounded chat usage metric, it will add additionally more details. So this new metric will reflect in the usage report retroactively starting from November 27, 2023, likely resulting in an increase in the number of active users and the active user rate. So the Microsoft Copilot with a graph-grounded chat metric, referred to in the report as Copilot Chat, will provide additional insights into Copilot for Microsoft 365 usage and inform adoption strategy decisions for Microsoft Copilot in your organization. The preview has been available since March, and the rollout is intended for September of 2024. You can also view all the Copilot M365 workloads at aka.ms/M365 roadmap. I'd also like to highlight that M365 Copilot will be available in GCC US governments in summer of 2024, so very soon. And essentially that wraps it up for the upcoming roadmaps. And I will hand it over to our esteemed colleagues, Tim and Jeff.
Thank you, Mahmoud, and thanks for covering. We had some questions on Copilot in the GCC tenant, and so it's very helpful to get the word straight from Microsoft in terms of when that is rolling out. So appreciate that. All right, so we wanted to present the key takeaways for this next part of the webinar to ensure that we align you with what we're going to talk about here a bit. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is the universe of Copilots. There was a question in the chat about Copilots in Dynamics 365. We're not covering those in detail today, but we'll kind of give a broad overview of the various Copilot components that are available, because they're available across the entire Microsoft Cloud stack. So whether that's in Dynamics, the D365 cloud, or the BizApps cloud, whether that's in M365, or whether that's in Azure, right? There are pieces of Copilot available, or Copilots available across all of those. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today to give you a little framework here. And so in order to talk about that, I'm going to pass it over to Jeff Dalton, and he is going to, so thanks, Jeff. I'll just hand it over.
Hey, thanks, Tim. So everybody take a deep breath, because that was a lot of information, because you're going to need it for the rest, because we're going to go pretty fast. One of the things that's really important as you start your journey is to decide for your organization, are you going to deploy this strategically or tactically? Meaning, am I going to focus on what the user experience is like and how do we drive business value, which is strategic, or I'm addressing more IT specific, like we just need to get it out there, or whatever. So they're more tactical approaches. We tend to focus on the strategic, and you'll see how that happens. But if you go back a slide, Tim, I wanted to point out, if you've never seen Copilot in action, back one. Thank you. This screenshot is helpful because it shows kind of two sides and kind of the notion around the Copilots, because there's lots of Copilots. We just don't want it to be a four-letter word to you guys. So Microsoft is used it quite a bit, and it means a lot of things. So what does it mean to you all? It's very important that you understand what data, what content that particular service is using, and what its capabilities are with that content. So right here, we've got, you'll notice that at the top, there is a web and a toggle over to work. What we like to call this is Copilot for the web. So Copilot for the web focuses on content outside your environment, doesn't touch anything inside. So if you're doing research and you want that research to come from notable sources on the web, you would do that with Copilot for the web. If you're looking at internal work, or you want to gather stuff on multiple statements of work or multiple documents that you've authored internally, you would use Copilot for work because that's using internal content. So to the next slide would be helpful to talk about when you're thinking strategically about AI and generative AI specifically, it's really important that you understand how you're going to go about that. We're going to talk a little bit later about release planning, but you'll see that the thing we're focusing in on is that one to a little bit more to the left, which are the Microsoft Copilots. So M365 Copilot is focused specifically on everything and the content inside of M365. What Microsoft has also done is used all those Azure AI components and put them together and pointed them at different components inside of the three clouds that are in Microsoft. So you've got Copilot for sales, which is focused on Dynamics content used by, salespeople who have Dynamics as their CRM. Copilot for security, which is looking at logs and things inside of Azure. You've got Copilot for, and I'm going to break all those things down, but you'll get the idea that all those have different intentions. And so when you think of your AI strategy, usually, and we'll talk about that deployment model, but you usually want to understand which one of those are most important right now when we talk about release planning. And next slide.
Oops, sorry, Jeff.
Okay.
There we are.
There we are. Okay. Sorry, y'all. So what I did on this slide is it's a reference. We wanted to make this valuable to y'all so that when you went away, you could use this deck for reference. So Copilot uses, when you think of M365, I mentioned Word and Outlook. Let's back one. And then, so for example, Copilot for Word has access to the document that is in your browser or in your application, and only that document. So you can interrogate that document, pull out content, make slide presentation, do all that kind of stuff, but it's only on that document. You can't ask questions, summarize the last 7 documents I had. Word doesn't do that, right? It's meant for generating content and interrogating the content that it has referenced. So take that idea and apply it to things like PowerPoint. Same thing. It only knows about the presentation that is on your screen right now, or something you've referenced. So you can say, using this document, create me 17 slides. So you can do that, but it can't look across all presentations across the organization. And that's what M365 Chat does, because Chat looks at the entire corpus of M365 and allows you to do crazy things like, this is one of my favorite. I remember I did a document, it was about such and such, and I think it was in the last 6 months. Can you go find it for me? And it will go find 99% of the time it will find it. So that's a beautiful thing. So let's talk through that. I'm going to not drain this slide, but you'll get the idea once you read through it, what it's used for, where it goes, and what the best use cases are. Next, the other copilots. So I mentioned Copilot for M365, GitHub, completely different, radically different from some of the other ones we talked about. It's about code, right? It looks through code, looks for snippets. It's for developers to increase their productivity. Talked about security, Power Platform, helps you design Power applications quickly and easily with no code. Compliance, so you kind of get the idea of what it's focused on and what it's capable of within that, and then inside of the name.
All right, thanks, Jeff. All right, thanks, Jeff. And so those are, we added additional detail to those slides so that you'd have them as you take them away from this webinar. So please refer back to those, and if you have any questions, let us know. The next thing we're going to talk about is aligning across the organization, right, and setting expectations about how you're going to use Copilot within your organization. When we talk with our customers about this, it's very important to make sure that your business and IT are aligned, and that you're aligned with your risk management, security, and legal groups, right, across your organization. And so, Jeff, I'll take it to the next one and you can talk through that.
Beautiful. Thanks, Tim. So here's some things we wanted to make sure that in your planning that you're set up successfully, strategically. So certainly the first thing you want to do, as Microsoft mentioned, is to make sure that there are no technical roadblocks. I cannot tell you how many times that we have started down a project and everybody thinks they're all aligned and we're going along, and then somebody from risk or compliance says, what in the world are you guys doing? We're totally exposed and you're going to introduce a whole bunch of risk. And the project stops. So it's really important that we do that, okay? The next item is to make sure that we work with compliance and your risk team to make sure that they are in line. And the next thing is, what part of the organization, I mentioned before, strategic or tactical. That is important from the very beginning to make sure that you are set up properly and that everybody is aligned. I keep mentioning the word alignment, but it's really critical. You're making a significant transformational change in your organization. And it's really important that everybody stays aligned and is up for that change. It's a big change, and we're going to talk about how you prepare from a change management standpoint a little later and give you some questions there.
And Jeff, I'll just say, when we talk about significant changes, right, we deployed this as soon as we were able to within our organization, and it has changed the way that people work. Changed the way I work, changed the way Jeff works, it's changed the way everybody works. So when you change the way that you work, you have to adjust everything, including your organizational policies, to reflect the unique issues that come up with using artificial intelligence to actually accomplish your job. So there's some specific things that we have some questions about later, but just wanted to bring that up. It is very transformational. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. So number 4 is strategically defining why you're doing this. Everybody knows these licenses are not cheap. And very soon, your top management is going to go, we're supposed to renew this. Why would we do that? And you need to have business drivers and ways of measuring that to ensure that, yes, we are getting the value. We're down to the dollars, right? This is saving us time, and that equates to this number of dollars and covers our licensing, or whatever the business case that you're working with. So know why you're doing this is critically important, and we highly suggest you create an overall AI strategy. You've got that roadmap we're going to talk about a little bit later of how that all fits together and how it supports the business case for the organization. And then one more.
Oh, sorry, Jeff.
That's okay. Creating a business framework. This is a business solution. As Tim mentioned, there are a ton of things that are going to change. You're going to have to change your usage policy. You're going to have to look at modern meetings and how are we going to do recordings and how do we promote that to clients and how do we say we're not letting this AI do all our work for us and we're just taking the credit for it. Notifications, organizational procedures, all those things have to be considered in your planning. Spend a lot of time doing that so that when you deploy to the users, they're getting an awesome experience. They have the whole change management that comes out of that. And that's what we're going to talk about next.
Yeah, it provides a lot of value and it brings with it some specific things. And just one example of that is we're working with a highly regulated customer that has concerns about e-discovery and information requests, right? And so as we look at that, we have to look at the products that are produced by Copilot when it creates summaries and transcripts of meetings and different things like that, so that we know how those are handled in their information architecture and how they're dealt with through their legal group as well. So just a few things to think about that you may not have thought through when first looking at this. All right, so that's talking about aligning your success metrics, making sure your information quality is good, and talking about how you transform how you work, right? The next one we're going to talk about is technical organizational planning, some training things, some questions that you should ask yourself as an organization. And I'll turn it back over to Jeff to give the details here.
Thanks, Tim. So when you're thinking about this roadmap idea, obviously you want to think about it strategically. Even if you choose to go tactically, understanding what the differences are and being aware of that whole approach. The first thing, again, are we aligned with compliance? Do we have any technical challenges? Lots of organizations have technical debt. We at Quisitive assume that you are a ways down your modern workplace or digital transformation journey, that you've got a modern workplace, that you've deployed, all the security, compliance, and governance at the base in M365 before you add this much more complex tool. So making sure that the whole organization is aware of the changes and the things that are going to go on there. The next item is assessing the real risk for your organization. So making sure that this notion, and everybody does it, you could raise your hand if you're completely secure and you've got all the compliance that you ever need. This doesn't happen. Organizations come to this all the time that say, yeah, we know that we've got some oversharing, but right now no one really knows about it. And so we're feeling pretty safe. That's what we call security by obscurity. That means unless people go out and look for it, they're probably not going to find it. Well, enter Copilot. It's semantic, meaning it thinks. It will use those prompts, we're going to talk about it in a moment, to go find things. You could ask a prompt that says, bring me back a number of things that relate to policies or something, and it reaches out and finds a document that shouldn't be included in that as a resource. So that's a problem. Let's remediate those. And I'm not saying that you need to lock it down before you start. This is a maturing, and we're going to talk about how to mature a little bit later, and we're going to have some questions for you there. So that is really critical. You're taking an advanced course here, right? You're putting things in your environment that you really want to look at carefully. You want to do a change management plan. That includes training, that includes communication, and that includes support. How is that all fitting to create the most amazing experience for your users? Because if you do it right, if you do release planning, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, really well, then every time you're releasing new capabilities, the users are just hungry for it. They know that you've done a good job with all the previous releases, and they were taken care of and they were moved along the path. That's what you want to create, because this is a transformational change that needs to be iterative.
And Jeff, I'll just say the
Yep.
impetus on training is important, because Jeff will talk about prompts in a minute, but if users aren't used to using AI in their day-to-day work, what we see is them running into some trouble initially, and then they get discouraged. And so your adoption rates suffer. And so in order to keep your adoption rates high, it's, and Jeff's going to talk through this in a minute, it's having appropriate use cases for this and training those use cases within your organization. So thanks.
So the last one is make sure that, as I mentioned before, you are focused on maturing in your roadmap about information protection. So how do we iterate that and get more and more specific about how we're controlling content in all aspects of purview and all the components that come together? When are we going to roll those out? When do we need to? And then information quality. Think about how most organizations use file shares, for example. I just worked for a large state government, 50,000 users, and they didn't delete anything. They had a policy that they never deleted anything. And so when you ask Copilot to go look for something, it's going to find 17 versions of that, and you're really lucky if you get the right one, right? So in terms of quality of that information, you really have to start thinking about, are we going to use metadata? Are we going to have a taxonomy? Are we going to, do the things to improve the results that we're going to get from Copilot when we ask the kind of things we need to ask and get the help we kind of need? Okay.
All right.
I just wanted to bring up again the technical roadmaps. I think we've all driven this puppy home. The last one, again, get risk, compliance, and security on board early. They define some things that you need to do before you can even say the word Copilot, right? So you want to make sure that if there are prerequisites that they have, that you're managing that time frame to do that. Now, some purview rollouts, they take months, right? So we're not saying you have to wait, but you want to align that. I think I've driven that. That horse is dead.
All right.
All right. So here's sample. These are some questions that you want to ask when you're assessing the real risk to your organization. I'm not going to drain this one, but understanding how much do we as an organization rely on this security by obscurity? What is the overall risk of sharing stuff? Do we even know what our sensitive, confidential, and private information is? Do we know where it is? Do we know where it should be? And do we have policies that tell people, if you've got this, it goes here? What most people are concerned about is all the stuff that doesn't go where it's supposed to go, because that place is secured properly. Copilots are not going to be exposing that to people that don't have access to it. So permissioning becomes really critical. And certainly Purview can help with that, with labels and things like that. You can control all the way down to, if I've got a contract, only these 4 people can get to it. And I don't care where it is. So that's a critical component. So I'll let you look at those. These are some things around change management that are really critical. Do you have clearly defined use cases and scenarios that are realistic and relevant to your organization? People that when they read them go, oh yeah, I do that every day. I need that, right? This is critical. Do you have a user impact analysis on the things that people are going to use? In other words, we used to do it this way, and now we're going to use Copilot and do it this way. How big a change is that? Is that a huge gap? Is that a little gap? What kind of culture do we have? If you've got a bunch of field workers that are focused on, getting oil out of the ground, they're not really interested in that, right? So how do we get them in with this? Using use cases that matter to them. We talked about policies. There's a whole bunch. The first one you got to do is update your usage policy. As I mentioned, that's numero uno, because that's going to come into play day one. Whether you choose to go really slowly, we'll talk about that path, or go quickly and put it all on them, pull off the Band-Aid kind of approach. But all these things have to align, as I mentioned, to have that great user experience. And then down to metrics, right? We mentioned that. So go ahead, Tim. Okay, when we think about a big change, prompting is a huge change. So think about how you currently use search. You typically type in 3 to 4 words maybe, and you get back those results. What Copilot is going to do is have you turn that on its head. I love what Microsoft said. It's thinking out loud. What would you have done if you were searching for stuff and you were trying to get keywords and you take that entire phrase and put it in as a prompt? I have seen prompts that are pages long because they're very specific. They include referenceable content, all that kind of thing. Out of the box, these are some of the top 10 prompts. So recap this meeting if I'm in a meeting using Copilot, draft me an email, summarize a document. My favorite is look for that document that I did on blah, blah, blah 17 weeks ago. And it always finds it. So I like the other one that has helped me prepare for my meeting that's coming up with my boss. That's an amazing one. I just got back from vacation and I said, catch me up. And it summarized all the emails that I hadn't read, gave me action items. It's amazing. The other thing that's really important with relationship to prompts is create a prompt library. I highly recommend that you use the Copilot Center of Excellence. And that is a Microsoft created solution. You build it yourself, but they have a template for it. And inside of there, you use a prompt library. So prompts that your organization has used and had gotten great value, you put them in there. You even let people rate them, said, I love this one, right? So people can go to that and say, hey, what are people using inside our organization? And then you can surface through your org change management stories about how people have used things and got tons of value. So that helps the momentum.
All right. And again, we're leaving you'll get this deck so you can look at these prompts. There's a lot of examples of prompts out there. And as you deploy, you'll find additional prompts that you really like. I mean, and that really work for your organization. And if you're doing this in an organized, strategic way, you could keep those prompts together and socialize them with your organization, which makes a big difference.
Yeah,
All right.
the whole notion of prompt is to ask better questions, right? The prompting is asking a question, you're conversing, it's a conversation, right? This is conversational and generative AI. So I can ask multiple questions. I often refine my prompt over time, right? It didn't get what I wanted, I'll ask it again or refine it or things like that. You're having a conversation with an AI. It knows about the conversation. This is critical for any deployment of anything. I'm a huge fan of release planning, especially if your goal is to create awesome user experiences. You create release goals, right? Why are we doing this release? What is this release supposed to accomplish? What are the components of that release? What are the things that need to be managed? A set of those use cases. Who are we going to do it to? Who's going to get this release? Is it going to be everyone? Is it going to be these people? These people? What are the use cases that fit them? Then that release schedule, because you're going to have a bunch of little releases. Maybe you've got some things you've got to do with your infrastructure, right? Play that all in. And then roadmaps. How do the visually looking at the releases that you're putting together and how all those things fit together. So when we do this at Quisitive, we spend a lot of time making sure, because what you don't want to happen is these things move. In other words, you're going to produce a roadmap that is going to go into your communication plan. And it's going to be very specific, so the users know what's coming and they can rely on it. You don't want to then put it out there and go, oh yeah, we're moving things around. And then you do that 5 times and they don't trust you. One of the things Copilot is great at is building a relationship between IT and the business, because you become heroes, right? IT gets to, this is good stuff, right? They're going to love it and they're going to love you if you do it right. Building that relationship.
Thanks, Jeff.
So here's an example of a release schedule, and this is by no means exhaustive as an output of release planning. But many times we like to start from the base. This is the slow model, right? This is in an organization that is very timid, if you will, or wants to go very slowly and dip their little pinky into the water and kind of put their foot in and that kind of thing later on. So what we do is we start at the base. No one's ever seen Copilot before. They don't know about AI. So what we do is do that Copilot for the web thing, and we just start them off in that, right? And we do that, and we start just focused on that. And we typically do a technical pilot with like 5 people to make sure technically it works in your organization. Then we'll do an early release to about 20 people, typically including your support desk and your training team and things like that, so they get a feel for how to do it. And then we release it in many cases with Copilot for the web to everyone. Boom, big shot. Everybody gets it, because really it's difficult to do it for certain users. The next we would do M365 Copilot and do it the same way. Technical pilot, early adopter, and however many licenses you bought. And sometimes you can break it down. So this kind of moves very slowly across a release path.
And we can speed that up. Depends on the appetite for change in your organization.
Yeah, that's why release planning is so critical. You've got to know your culture and know how much change can they handle. And we've done everything from even slower than this to we're doing everybody at one time on Wednesday with a lot of planning. Okay. This is just a slide that kind of points to getting specific use cases. This is focused on HR in general, but you would want to even go smaller if you wanted to, go down to accounts payable. What are the things that Copilot can do to help them? What we do at Quisitive is take these use cases and then build prompts for those use cases. And those use cases, A, they're going to be recognized by the business. They're going to go, great, I do that. Boom, here's a prompt. Let me try that. Right? So it immediately gets them engaged and gets them moving fast. And it is realistic to tell your users that you're going to spend a little bit more time now building your prompts to get what you want to save time. Over time, this whole notion of prompting will become ingrained, but it's not the way we work.
Yeah, the more that we or you can provide use cases and prompts for folks to accelerate them, then of course, as accelerate means, the faster you'll get adoption and the faster you'll get productivity coming out of the licenses that you've purchased. So
one of the other things that I wanted to point out, if I have time, I think I got maybe 1 minute. It is really important that somewhere you are, because what's going to happen is people are going to come in and you want to set expectations properly. They're going to think Copilot, can do everything and wash their car. You're going to correct that in your planning and in your communication. But pretty soon they're going to run into the wall, if you will, or get what we call Copilot saturation. That's going to happen, and you want a place that you can store their ideas, their new ideas, because that's going to go into other Copilots. It may be a custom Copilot or another AI solution. So in the center of excellence, you want a little track my requests or something like that. Okay. Next time.
all right.
Okay. These are the things about maturing those different areas that I mentioned before: information protection, doing a gap analysis, prioritizing that list, looking at a content assessment for information quality, looking at permissions, looking at how you're managing your content, getting real serious about lifecycle and curation, right? This is a new word for lots of organizations. Curating the content, like if I've got an important piece of content, I need to make sure that Copilot knows it's important. So if I ask that they're truly authoritative sources inside your organization that Copilot can find on a regular basis, because you want people to have the right answers. I'm not going to drain this slide because I don't have time, but this is for your reference. If you have any other questions, let us know. This is our approach to generative AI. We kind of do discovery, foundation, we do pilot and adoption, and that whole monitoring thing. How do you keep the momentum going? And I think that's my last slide, Tim.
That is, and I want to thank everyone for their time today. As Courtney mentioned earlier, we do have a drawing here, but I just wanted to mention a couple things. There's some workshops for Copilot that are available, as well as some accelerators that we offer. And so the workshops can do everything from explain what Copilot is to your organization, to look at your readiness for rolling out, and then to look and to talk specifically about adoption at your organization. So that 3-phase is about education, readiness, and adoption are the 3 phases. And then we've got some accelerators that can help both from accelerating your adoption of Copilot for M365, but also accelerators around your data estate and custom copilots and large generative models. If that's something that your organization prioritizes, right, we can jump right into those things. So it's not just Copilot for M365, as Jeff showed. There's multiple tools available, everything from SharePoint Premium, which has some Azure components that are built into it that really allow you to generate documents and to ingest documents into your content repositories, to custom large language models to solve some of the most difficult questions your organization has. So all of those are available from us, but there's a couple of workshops that we like. One is the Copilot workshop for M365, and then there's the accelerator as well. So if you can scan the QR codes there, and we will reach out and contact you about assisting you with this process. All right, and I'm going to turn it back over to Courtney to see if there's any questions that we have, and then Courtney can talk about sharing your feedback for a chance to win the Amazon gift cards.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, we do have time for one question, and that question is, what are the biggest barriers to adoption?
Oh, well,
I can take that.
we all might have a slightly different answer to that, but I'm gonna say from what I've seen with our customers, the biggest barrier to adoption is, well, first of all, not being in alignment with your security and compliance people, security, risk, and compliance. That can stop things in their tracks if folks are nervous about that. And if you need assistance with that, the readiness assessment talks about specific things that address that. And we can get into as much detail about how Copilot for M365 works as your organization needs to feel comfortable with what you're doing. Microsoft has done a fantastic job about keeping AI constrained within your environment so that your organization can make the decision about whether you're going out to the web or you're looking internally for answers. And like I said, the Microsoft team has done a great job about giving your organization the power to control how that's used. And so it's just setting that up. The other thing would be, go ahead, Jeff.
Real quick, Tim?
Yeah.
From my experience, the thing that slows down adoption the most is not having enough evangelists, because this is a big change, and we're creatures of habit, right? We get this new toy and we forget about it. My garage is full of them, right? I buy this thing and I forget to use it. So having either a champions program, people inside of various departments that are, pre-trained or know the new things that are coming or involved in the deployment that are around helping people to move forward, to keep the momentum going and pointing them to things in the Copilot Center of Excellence, moving that forward and keeping the energy going, because it's kind of like climbing a hill. You need to get momentum. You need to get, reach the point where everybody is talking and breathing in this new way of working. And if you miss the boat, you're just going to slide back down. People are just going to start doing stuff the old way, because when you get under pressure, you fall back, right? So helping people to get that momentum embedded into the way they do work is a critical component, and Champions is a great way to do that.
And a few good prompts and a few good use cases, right? So a few good use cases with a collection of prompts around them can change a person's day, right? And when you do that, you're getting them home earlier, or they're getting their work done faster. They're able to concentrate more. You get a few of those into your organization, and it really drives adoption, right? So not having those available is, in terms of good use cases and good prompts, is a barrier to adoption. And as Jeff said, those communities of practice within your organization or champions can be people who are disseminating that information to their department. And that is a fantastic help.
Yep.
All right, Courtney, turn it back to you.
All right. Thank you to Tim, Jeff, Mahmood, and Olivier for presenting today. I've dropped the links to our Copilot.
Oh, Courtney, can I just say, thanks to our partners from Microsoft. It was really fantastic having them today, Olivia and Mahmood. It's just really beneficial when we get Microsoft on with our clients. So thank you.
All right, I've dropped the links to our Copilot workshop, the Copilot Accelerator, and our feedback survey in the chat for you, or you can scan the QR code here on the screen. As a reminder, I will also send out all of this information via email, along with a recording of this session and today's slide deck. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and I hope you all have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.